The Floor is Lava, a game so popular that I would bet everyone watching this video has played it at some point in their life. But if you ask any of them where they learned it, they'll most likely say that they don't know. It's as if it's pre-installed like Uno on the Xbox.
You have Uno!
So how does a game that's so popular seem to come out of nowhere? Some of the best conversations I have ever had have been accompanied by a makeshift parkour course in whatever game I'm playing at the time. There's something so natural about parkouring around the Minecraft server when you're deep in conversation. It's a pretty universal experience, but most assuredly, no one ever thinks about doing it when they do it, they just do it. And no one I talked to remembered learning where to do this, we just knew. Now, while a makeshift parkour course is not equivalent to The Floor is Lava, they are acquainted. Most of my courses involve not touching the ground where available, as I'm sure a lot of yours do as well. And when you tie these two together, you start to see it pop up all over media. A game that embodies this, as you might expect, is Assassin's Creed. A center focus of the game is the parkour system. While touching the ground is allowed, it's far from what you want to do. It makes you easier to be detected, it limits your overall maneuverability, and it's nowhere near as cool. The game highlights this aspect in a couple of ways. The most direct way being the hidden parkour areas in the earlier games, where you enter a hidden arena and you have to parkour to make it to the end of the area. If you fall, you die and have to restart. Now, the floor may not be lava here, but the essence of the game is still the same: avoid falling. While the name The Floor is Lava is only dated back to the 1930s, around when living rooms became more popular, the idea that the ground must be avoided is something that kids have been doing since they started playing games. I mean, think about it. One of the first things we do when we're bored is to try not to touch the ground, whether this is at home, on the furniture, or even jumping between concrete parking lot bumpers, because walking normal is boring. While you most likely never thought to yourself that you're playing The Floor is Lava, you certainly were following the rules of it. Something that's kind of shocked me was when my friend told me that Wipeout, that hit TV show where you jump from things and eventually fall into the water, is also a ground avoidance game. I mean, when I think about it, of course it is. But it's wild to me that it never really clicked that that game is just The Floor is Lava with additional obstacles. Another variation of this is American Ninja Warrior, which is basically a more competitive version of Wipeout. It got ranked Wipeout before GTA 6. So the question is, where did we all learn this? Well, like all of the media I've mentioned, maybe we all learned it from a show or a game that we played. This would be called subconscious media absorption, the idea that you unknowingly saw some form of this ground avoidance game in a show or a game and just naturally tried playing it in real life one day. This would satisfy the question of why we don't really know where it came from, as most people don't remember when things like this happen. If you want an example of this, look at tiptoeing to sneak around. Tiptoeing is not the best idea for sneaking, yet numerous cartoons show this, and by subconsciously adapting, some kids began tiptoeing when they thought they were sneaking. If you were one of these kids, do you confidently remember when you first saw tiptoeing? You likely don't. Now that we know how easy it is to subconsciously pick up on something from media, you might feel pretty confident that media absorption may be the cause of The Floor is Lava. Don't get too far ahead of yourself. There are still some holes in this theory. For instance, your grandparents probably knew the game, and they were definitely not playing Assassin's Creed back in 1930, at least not a video game. It's important to understand that media is not just shows and games, it also includes stories and folk tales, which could date media absorption theory as far back as some campfire stories. Even though this is possible, I did not find too many historical stories where the main premise is that the floor is lava. And I even learned that the floor is lava is actually impossible in real life. If the floor was covered in lava, the air above it would be way too hot to be able to exist there for any length of time. Funny enough though, the walls could be lava as long as the airflow is favorable. Just a weird thing I found. Anyway, back on topic. Because of this, it's not likely it came from a real story. It's not impossible by any means, people lie all the time. But in ye olden times, it's not like everyone knew what lava was anyway. If your civilization has never interacted with a volcano, it's unlikely you would ever even know what lava is. For those of you interested, the word lava comes from the Italian word lavare, I don't really know how to say it, which means to wash. It's kind of poetic if you think about it from a rebirth point of view. So, we know that there's almost certainly people in history that played ground avoidance games without hearing stories of lava or quicksand or any of the sort. And while I'm sure a lot of people did in fact learn of the game through this method, I don't think it's as satisfying an answer as I was looking for, since it likely didn't account for everyone. So how did people that did not absorb any media discover the game? Did they just all make it up? Multiple discovery theory is the hypothesis that most discoveries or creations are made by multiple people more or less at the same time while being completely separated from each other. The easiest way to understand this is to think of the invention of the wheel. The wheel was not created by one person and then told to everyone else. No, the wheel was invented by numerous people because numerous people had the same idea and they all made it for their communities. Some more famous examples of this is calculus, which was independently discovered by Isaac Newton and also Gottfried Wilhelm. Another discovery, which was made by Carl Wilhelm, Joseph Priestley, and Antoine Lavoisier, probably also pronounced those wrong, all independently discovered oxygen, proving that even something as complex as calculus can be discovered separately and independently by more than one person. I think it's highly probable that ground avoidance games had this same phenomena happen all over the world. A lot of things that humans come up with for entertainment are very primal. In the bestseller storytelling book Save the Cat by Blake Snyder, he says for a story to connect with people, it has to be primal, because primal urges get our attention. Survival, hunger, love, protecting what we love, and fear of death grab us because it's primal. It's something that even a caveman would understand. A lot of activities that kids do can be traced back to things early humans did for survival. We build pillow forts as a way to protect ourselves. We mixed a ton of random stuff together and called it cooking. The list goes on quite a bit. You could even argue that when kids play fight, it's done to train each other for combat. It's not something needed now, and so it's definitely not what kids are doing now, but in older times it might have provided a large enough advantage to start early that it continued through evolution. So how does this tie into the floor is lava? How often is it important to avoid the ground? Well, like a lot of my peers, I for sure thought quicksand was going to be much more of an issue than it really is. But honestly, what benefits do we get from the skill of avoiding the ground? Well, a lot of this is just my speculation, but I could think of a couple reasons. Staying off the ground makes it harder for some predators. Crossing dangerous terrain is made easier if you only use sections that you know are safe. Avoiding water when crossing a river can help stay warm. Very basic concepts, but I could see it. But maybe it's not some survival skill, maybe it's just for fun. I found this Quora answer that I think brings up a good point. I'm paraphrasing here, but, well, most children have floors and are playful, so your game will involve a floor. Now, most children, like kittens, like to run around and practice mobility, so a game has to involve movement and also the restriction of movement. A children's game cannot contain complicated rules. It must be easy to understand and communicate to other children. Now, think of a basic game involving fun, the use of mobility and physical feats, and common materials like furniture and floors. Now remove stipulations on things like how many players do you need, taking turns, and other complex rules because kids don't really like that stuff. And lastly, make sure the rules can be communicated in 2 or 3 childlike sentences and requires very little setup. What did you come up with? I believe that most everyone developed this game or something similar on their own, and then the name was nailed down when the game was shared between each other. While it's silly to make a video about the origins of a kid game, I think it's special to me because as a person who loves to climb buildings and do obstacle courses, I can't help but think that that was started by my love for playing the floor is lava as a kid. Even today, I like to jump between squares at the mall or hop one parking lot bumper to the next. There is something very warming that even thousands of years later, kids are still discovering the same game. If there is ever something that I feel ties me more to the human experience, it's that I still love to play the floor is lava, even if it's a mini version of it on my way to my car or around my Minecraft house. So next time you're bouncing around your game, lost in conversation, and you don't want it to end, maybe you can discuss your fond memories of jumping from furniture piece to furniture piece. A conversation I believe will feel at home with just about anyone. Thanks for watching.